Hello, you guys. Um, we're gonna see how long it lasts. I'm still not feeling the best, but I just remembered at 10 o'clock we have two episodes of we're starting to watch um something on Disney. I can't even think right now, you guys. Oh my goodness. We're watching the Santa Clauses. I guess it's like a TV show on Disney Plus or something like that. That everyone wanted to start watching, so we're gonna be watching it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 2 weeks. So if you guys are interested, make sure you join the Discord. Um, but hello there, AJ. Welcome in with the first. Hope you guys are all doing well today. Let's go ahead and get this open. We're going to be doing Bible Devo time. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started so we can get started with the game and then we have fun things later. So, Sal, thank you for the lurkity lurk. Okay, so I gotta turn down this music. Okay, so keep going is what it's called today. Strength for the weary. So our scripture today is Galatians 6:9, and it says, "Let us not grow weary of doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." I also woke up at 1 a.m. this morning, so I'm probably just tired. And maybe that's why I'm not feeling well. But there are seasons when continuing feels harder than starting. The prayers seem unanswered. Progress feels invisible, and strength runs low. Yet Scripture reminds us that the weariness does not mean failure. It means you've been faithful for a long time. So God never asks us to keep going on our own strength. When our resolve weakens, His power remains steady. What feels like delay is often preparation, and what feels like silence is often God working beyond what we can see. Keep going doesn't mean that it looks like big steps. Sometimes it's choosing to trust God one day and one more day. Sometimes it's resting without quitting. Sometimes it's whispering a prayer instead of shouting praise, and God honors all of it. Remember, the harvest is promised, but endurance is required. Not because God is distant, but because growth takes time, especially the kind that lasts. So, what is our reflection question for the day? What is one small faithful step that you can take today, trusting God with the rest? So, one small faithful step you can take today is this: pause and invite God into one ordinary moment. Before a task, a conversation, or even rest, quietly say, "Lord, I'm trusting you with this." You don't have to fix everything or figure out the future, just acknowledge that His presence is there in that single moment. Faithfulness often looks small: answering one email with integrity, choosing kindness when you feel tired, resting without guilt, and praying honestly instead of perfectly. Those small acts are not insignificant to God. They are seeds. Trust Him with the growth and take just one step today. Here is a prayer. Lord, you see how tired we are. Give us strength for today, not the whole journey, just this step. Help us to trust that you are working even when we don't see it. Renew our hope and help us to keep going. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let's go. Who needed to hear that today? Because I sure did. Amen. Let's go, Andrew. Yeah. Ooh. So, don't grow weary. Keep going. God will give you strength through it. So, yes. Okay, where's... I'm gonna turn that down. And then let's go ahead and get the game going. Okay. So today, it's gonna be a shorter live because I gotta leave at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're gonna do that, and then I don't think I'll be on later today because I'm already tired now, and I still have hour of something of movie that we're gonna watch. So um we're gonna work on a quest that I've been wanting to do, but I really wanted to do it on stream because I'm excited for what happens. So we're gonna do it together. But I'll kind of show you what I did around the property first, as always. And we might take some people some gifts, possibly. Um, I try my best to do stuff like mining and ungathering and selling stuff off of stream, just because it, I don't know. I just feel like it's easier doing it like that. So let's go ahead and show what we have. So, oh man, I hope I don't yawn like this the whole time. Okay, so I don't know if I told you this already, but um we had to buy a license to get this crafting thing. Apparently when you do a like a new craft and you have like the amount of crafts that are, you know, that you can have, you have to buy a license from Kenyatta's shop. So we bought a license so we can do another crafting of bars because it's a lot easier when I can go through both of this and this. Like it just makes it so much easier. So that's what I have there. What else did I add? Did I add anything here? I don't know if you were here when I added this little mushroom thing. And I added a little jug there and the little light there. We're in the middle of farming. Um, which I'll get back to this. Did I add anything over here? I added this, the little scroll, and then we added this, which is, you know, it's growing. I did this, which I'm super happy about. It's a little game closet, and you can open stuff. I just thought it was so cute, and it's just a little game closet, you know, nothing too much. But yeah, so it's just a little game thing that I thought was cute. So I did that, and then if we go this way, I'll do the inside last. We have our pergola. We got our little pergola over here, but I don't know if I want to keep it here or move it down a little bit more. Even if it's just a tiny bit. I wanted to do that with you guys. So, that's what we're gonna do. Right now, as we speak. But yeah, I did this, which is finished. It looks so cute. I haven't finished all the way because I want to add a whole bunch of food and put it on this table. So it's like a little dining, like, just, you know, eat. I think it'd be really cool. So I have that. And then we have this. Which, I don't know, should I just leave it here? I have to move this anyway. Or can it not be moved? Wait, can I do... Maybe I do it like this? Is it Z? Yeah, Z. How does that look? Okay, I think that's fine. Because I did it on the other side, so I think that will look cute. Okay, so I have a few things to put in here. The first thing is this table. I kind of want it in the middle. And then we have 4 of these. We kind of put on either side. And then we have a candle. I kind of wanted it on each side. We have this. And then we have I don't know if I want this over here or somewhere else. I was thinking I could go here for the garden entrance. I kind of like that more. Okay, we'll keep that over here then. Okay, so what else do we have? Now I have this light that I hope can come up here. Which I think are cute. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay. And then we have like just these little rock thingies that I thought looked cool. And then at the center of this thing, I wanted to do this little guy. Almost like he's like welcoming you to the area. And then we have plants. We have that thing. Okay, okay, that's cute. I like Z. Z, you can kind of put it kind of exactly where you want it. which is nice. Here we go. Cute. So you kind of go and you enter. It's like, oh. It's just nice. It's a nice little pergola with a dining set. I have a lot of dining sets, okay? And so, like, if you want a table, you can take the food here and can sit here, or you can go over to here and have a seat and enjoy it over here, you know? I just think that looks so nice. Okay, I'm happy. I'm happy with how that turned. I also added this. So this goes out to here, and this. Tell me if you guys have ever seen this, and if you know what this is. Okay. So you see how this has like a little hole in it? What? It has water over there, and I was like, what is this? You know, you can't get across it. So I did this, and I kind of went as high as I could. Oops, hold on. I gotta show you. Because this is crazy, you guys, and you can tell me what it is. Tell me what is that? Why can't we get there? Why is that blocked off? Like, that's a pretty cool little place with water, and it's pretty, and you know, why can't we go there? Good thing. And then inside, so I added this little what is it called? Curtain. And then we have a sink now in the kitchen, which we didn't have before. Remember, we had to go all the way to the bathroom, you know? So, anyway. Um, I didn't really change anything in here. Oh, I added the flower in there instead, because I just thought it looked better there. And then, I didn't really add too much to this. I think you guys already saw this area, so, but yeah, that's what I have so far. I'm excited about this. It looks cute. Okay. Let's see where we're at here. I'm trying to remember what I was trying to do. Do I have enough fabric for what I wanted to do? I'm pretty sure I wanted to do something, and I don't remember what it was. I have to get to level 6 hunting to be able to make the bow. I only have a standard bow. I feel like it's just these. But everything else is fine. So we just need to get to level 6 hunting, which right now we're at 5, I believe. Yeah, we're at 5. So we gotta do that. We gotta do 6 ranching and then 6 cooking. And I think we should be good on that until we get to level 9, which is where you can do the other stuff and get the other stuff. I need to make another fishing attachment. And then I need to get gifts ready to take to people as well. Fishing. Would it be under miscellaneous? Yeah. I need plant fibers, and sternoctide. Well, that's gonna take us a while. Oh, let's water. Whee! It's out of nowhere. Was like, ooh, let's grow weeds just because you were watered. Ah, how nice. We got this, you guys. We're gonna be fast growers. Fast produce growers. Oh yeah, look at that. And then we can use number 1. So this one needs it, and then this one needs it, and then all these need it. Better quality things get better, you know. Okay, I think that's it. I'm gonna take these for the animals. I'm gonna sell those. Um, okay. So let's go do that real quick. I'm trying to get like our like daily things we do real quick. It's cold. Brr. How cold is it in Florida right now? It is 59 degrees, partly cloudy. It's supposed to get down to 47 degrees tonight. I'm already freezing. Ugh. And I'm wearing long sleeves. Okay, let's go say hello to all the animals. I'm gonna feed them all first before I feed them fully. I want to make sure they all have eaten, even if I can't do a full. Level 6, let's go. my goodness! Andrew, look at you! Aw, so cute! And it's glowing! I have a glowing thing, and then I have, a shiny. That's so cool! Cool. Oh my goodness.
Glad you stopped by.
Oh dearie, I've been hard at work and baking, but not for the boys this time. Why don't you take a couple and tell me how your peckies and chocolates like 'em? I'll have more for selling the guild shop, just as soon as I perfect the recipe.
Can't chat now. Got lots to do.
Well, you know what? I am not going to be moderately reduces the likelihood of your animal's traits to be passed down to the next time it is bred. I don't want to give them a bad treat. What are you talking about? Pass them down. What is this? Let's do that, and then I need to have more stuff. Okay, who didn't eat all the way? Who didn't eat all the way? You didn't eat all the way. You didn't eat all the way. And I have 1, 2, 3. 3 or 4 left. 3, 4 left. I don't want to have food in them. Oh, you can always have a baby? Huh. Interesting. You learn new things every day. Huh. Let's do 2 of these, and 2 of these, and potatoes. So you're 100. You're 100. You still need some love. 100. 100. You still need some love. Okay. I think we're good. We're good. And then, how many eggs do we have? 9. We'll put these in here and we'll sell the rest. Okie dokie. Bye. See you later. Goodbye, animals. Peace out. Peace out, home scout. I also have more, ooh, 916. I want it to at least be, 1,000. Okay. And then I have a piece of snow. Where do we need a piece of snow? Let's do do some snow here. That looks like a nice place for snow. Yeah, that looks like a good place for snow. Yep. Okay, so let's do our quest. So I wanted to do a main quest today. Um, okay. Well, we're gonna focus on our one quest. Oh, I need food. I'll make some grilled meat. Oh yeah. That's enough. Can I bake something that will be faster? Do I have everything for this? Can I make this? I do. Spice chopped pumpkin. Chopped pumpkin. Chopped sprout. Make. Okay. Make. Okay. Make. Chop. Spice chop. Yay! I made my first pumpkin pie. Woo! And I'm now level 5. Now we get to enjoy it. Oh yeah, that got us all the way up. Let's go. That was easy to make. What else can I make? Really quick. I could do this one. Hearty vegetable soup. We got this. We're gonna be pro cookers. I made gold starred hearty vegetable soup. Wait, I think Breath wants some hearty vegetable soup. Let's go take him some, and then we'll go to do our quest. Because for those who don't know, me and I chose Reth as my romantic person or whatever for this playthrough. So we gotta be best friends with him because I want him to be our chef as well. Yay! I'm turning the music back on. Hold up a minute. Is that good? Like a good mix of me talking and music? Maybe? Let me know. Okay, now we wait. Everyone gets the same rewards from activities, so be sure to team up so you can loot together. I wish I wasn't so tired. Excuse me. Ugh. This is crazy, crazy, crazy. Is he in Jill? I think he's in Jill, right? Is anything gonna load in?
You busy later?
You know, you've actually become a pretty good chef. Well, thanks! Of course,
Oh.
you've got me as your mentor.
Whoa.
And as your illustrious mentor, I've got a new recipe for you to try out. Go on, take a look. Try not to burn it. Meaty stir fry. And crab pot! I need this for a recipe! We need the crab pot. First, I want to give you one of these. Thanks, but I've got pals of them. Oh, because I already gave them a gift today. Whoops. Well, let's start with him. Man, I really slept like a crab last night. Hey, mind lending me a shoulder? Not like literally though, or should it be literal? I meant like I rest my head on your shoulder, not you cut a shoulder off and surgically attach it to me. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm not exactly the creative type. Visually, I mean, nowadays Tish has got gel if she needs inspiration. But there was one time when she was still in appreciation, I found a jewel wing dragonfly. I know, bug catching isn't an excuse to skip woodworking practice, but hear me out. I brought it home to Tish, and overnight she churned out like 20 sketches for a new living room set. I felt like a pretty awesome big brother then.
Leaving so soon?
Aww.
I'm glad you came to the valley.
Hi, what can I do for you? Who used to live on my housing plot?
Huh?
They certainly were on an interesting inventor. We didn't talk much, though. I think they used to frequent the inn. Maybe ask Ashura. The day's finally winding down. It's time for me and Jill to do our nightly design sharing. He has no idea I've been thinking with a secret project on the sidelines. I'm going to surprise him when the time is right. Okay, Andrew. Sounds good. What are you making? It's a wearable throne made of thorn. thorniest and darkest enchanted wood I could find. It's going to look perfect on him. I just know it.
Let's get together again soon.
Well, have fun with that fish.
Might I be of assistance?
An artist's work is never done, but perhaps conversing with you shall give me some much needed inspiration. Who used to live at my housing spot? Oh, that fantastical fellow. Unfortunately, they mostly kept to themselves, I'm afraid. I lack any juicy gossip to share. That is more Esh's forte after all. People around here always say when you judge others, you're not judging them, but rather your own projection.
Hmm?
But I wonder, does the same apply when speaking of judgments about ourselves? I think it would. But if that's true, I would mean our true selves are known to no one, not even ourselves. How do
Defeats
you
my
know?
melancholy.
A gloomy.
I'll always make time for you.
Aw, what's new, pal? I found a magic bomb. Who used to live on my housing plot? Oh, you must be talking about Florentine. He was always inventing weird little things. Every so often, they were even useful. He'd bring whatever he was tinkering with down to the inn, sometimes to show it off. Always brought that pocket pal cat down with him, too. I love seeing his wild ideas, but that pal cat, woof. What was wrong with the pal cat? It used to tussle with Zeki's pal cat. I think that's why Zeki stopped coming around here. What was its name? Oh, One-Eyed Shermie, which was weird because it still had both eyes. Oh, I've seen you going in and out of Rest's storeroom. You look like you're surprised that I know of it. Yes, I know he has a place downstairs where he keeps a few things, but don't worry, I've never been one to snoop where I'm not welcome.
Stay safe, friend. The dragon is everywhere you
Kilima is
look.
welcome, a place for all. I always love a good meal after a day of hard work. All good food, even the simplest lettuce broth, has healing properties. Even if it's not for the body, then always for the soul. Sharing a meal with others restores us even more. Maybe you will join me for a bite someday. What would you recommend? Breath makes a wonderful variety of vegetarian dishes. My favorite is his lettuce soup. Can you believe it only has two
If you need
ingredients?
help,
Lettuce soup?
all you have to do is ask. Beautiful day, is it not?
I would hope that you have learned now that such items are not suitable offerings for the god. You literally just said we could have soup together and you won't take my soup? What about this one?
Ah,
Oh, of course you take a gold star food item. You're welcome.
make sure you take time to enjoy the moment.
Yeah. How much is this anyway? 100. Wait, isn't there someone who likes pumpkin pie that I should be giving a gift to? Um, who wants pumpkin pie? Oh, Kinley.
I am so glad to see you.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Now I can mark off that I gave him pumpkin pie because it was on his list of things he wanted. Is there anyone else who wanted pumpkin pie? Because I got one more pumpkin pie ready to deliver for anyone who wants it. Everyone wants blueberry pie. Ruth does want hearty vegetable soup, but he has to wait. You like pumpkin pie? Who used to live on my housing plot? I would have to go through a lot of old paperwork, so maybe try asking someone who isn't currently on a snack break, like Ash. Ash isn't very fond of Reth, but I think he's great. Alongside Ashura, he worked very hard to keep this inn running. That deserves a lot of praise. Yes!
These
Oh,
chats of ours
I'm
always
so
cheer
happy
me
about
up.
that. Yes.
Oh, look what the Ormu
And
dragged
to
in.
see I'm a little busy over here. I gotta tell you, kid. Sure, wish we still had that Umbreon community right next door. Legal way to buy and sell magic so close to home. I would have had my fiscal freedom right now if it weren't for that war.
Thanks for the visit, pal.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Ah, sure, it's nice to see you again.
Aw.
Sometimes I wonder if Halcyon stays away at night on purpose because he knows that's when I'm home. Never mind me. Sometimes I act like a real sad sack when I come home from having too much fun at the end. You want lettuce soup? No. I mean, I understand. I wouldn't want
Next
lettuce
time
soup
you slay
either.
a monster, tell it seafood.
You know? Well, let's go this way and talk to Ash.
Make yourself
Oh,
useful.
what? I found a magic bomb on my housing plot. Who used to live at my plot? Florentine. Charming fellow, if you consider illegally tinkering with human magic charming. Ooh, that's why he probably left. I guess it is a certain literal sense. Can we disenchant something of this? No, oh no, you? Why not? You need to know the secret phrase tied to the spell. Just do it quietly and far away from me. Really, though, I suggest you send whatever you found back where it came from and forget about it. Just like I did with, what's his name? Ooh! My husband asked me why I spend so much time patrolling the village if I don't keep, trouble out of our community. Who will? Surely not him. Cut him some slack. If I were to cut him any more slack, he would simply fall and bring me down with him. What will that become of our village then? Without a capable leader at its helm, it'll surely fade into obscurity.
Mind your manners.
Whatever. Whatever. Make sure you explore everywhere. You're sure to uncover some secret areas. Like I have. Guys, I can show you my secret area I found. It's an easy way to get to one of the temples, so I'll show it to you. Real like, uh, okay. Load, 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 load. I believe it is the Water Bay that we want to go to. And if it's not, I just wasted 50 coins. What? Gotta stay hydrated. Gotta stay hydrated. Okay, so we're gonna go this way. I'm gonna show you it. So you're gonna go in here. Let me try to remember from this way. So um you're gonna go down here. And then you're gonna find this area. See how it's just like a dead end? You're like, oh, it's just a dead end. Keep going. Well, don't. You're gonna do this. Whee! You're gonna get up here, and then you're gonna go over here. And you're gonna fall down. And bam. Guess where you're at? You're at the ruins. But I don't think this is the ruins that I need. But yeah. Ta-da! That's it. Speed and quest object. I don't want to do that. I want to do the other, the windy ruins over here. That's what I want to do. Whee! Let's go to our destination. Pumpkin pie is good. I make a really good pumpkin custard. Whee! Up in the air enters the temple of the gills. Yes, sirree. I will do that. Once I get there. What is that? Oh, it's grass. Whee! Nope. Are we ready? Are we ready to enter the ruins? The feeling of flow still hangs heavy in the air here. The intruder is either still here or was very, very recently. They have stopped trying to cover their tracks as well. Whoever they are, they're in a rush. Come, perhaps we can intercept them. Stay on your guard. Stay on your guard! A dirty rag covered in soot. Someone stopped to clean ash off their skin. A makeup brush lies discarded next to this mirror. It seems someone stopped to retouch their face before continuing on. It's a girl! I think I already did that. Beets and Kalari. We have missed them once more. Still, it seems they've gotten quite sloppy. Look at all the feathers scattered about. Perhaps we can retrace their path? Oh, let me go say hi to them first.
Be quiet.
Salutation. What's next?
If I see so much as a single dog here, I'm so close to uncovering the
Hello.
truth. The truth is out there. Somewhere.
Oh, if it isn't
I
Kilima's
didn't think
newest
this was how I
entrepreneur.
spend my
I
day.
love our chats, but I gotta get going.
An inky feather lays discarded on the ground. Do any silver rings have such dark plumage? Something about dark plumage again. And more dark plumage. And more. And more. And more. Do I have to read every single one? Two silver birds went to seek, and then observed for 2 long weeks. The first laid 2 eggs every dawn, her daughter every night laid one, but both to the sky did take, when a 2 egg omelet I did make. Requires an item. 40 small silver ring eggs. I must admit, it is impressive these islands have stayed buoyant all these years. Any ideas where to find eggs? It is likely our intruder needed to find the eggs already. Perhaps they discarded them somewhere nearby. If they didn't, just toss them over the side of the island. Look for another trail of feathers. I think I spotted one off this path. I discarded mugs. Expensive tea. I spent fly, runestone. What? They don't have a glider? More feathers. I don't want to read them all. I'm just following them. That's the pack I want! It's 11K! Most of the pages seem to be damaged by the wind. That's funny. Time to go back! It seems our intruders spent quite a bit of time in this temple. I suppose they struggled to locate all of the eggs. Have you found anything of a note? Here's what I found. I find it hard to believe, even in a rush, our intruder would leave their diary behind. The feathers and talon marks tell a different story, in fact. I think the silver rings may not have taken kindly to their eggs being treated so roughly. Thus, they seized the intruder's property in turn. I imagine the birds will be most grateful to have their offspring returned. But first, I ask that you turn the clues you've discovered over to me. Hand over everything. Keep the star stones and gold. Gold and star stones. I cannot imagine they found much for these. And neither do I. Why don't you hold on to these for safekeeping? Yay, I got them anyway! Because I did the right thing! Safe mode. Messages. Draft 1. Where are you? The guilds have lost power. The flow gate's down. I'm scared. Asta, please tell me you're alright. Tell me we fixed this. Tell me there's hope. Point 5 days. 0.5 days. We missed him. I suppose the commerce protocol has been disengaged as here as well. How would you guess? Just a hunch. They slipped out from right under our noses. Well, I do not need to activate tracking to guess where they're headed next. Only one temple remains. Hopefully the gardener proves as much trouble for them as he did for you. Come, we will meet in the Temple of the Roots. Okay. Look at all the things I got. I got lots of things. I got a garnet, 3 garnets, 2 onyx, and an amethyst. Wow. We're going there because we have to go all the way to here. So we're gonna go to Central Stables. Guys, take advantage of the stables, especially once you start getting money. Because it will save you a lot of time. Because you don't want to walk all the way. You know? Woo! Oh my goodness, excuse me. And now we run to our next destination. Whee! Do, 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 do. I love that cat's always on my head. I lost him, well, I understand you and Helga made contact with Galador, who supposedly runs this place. If this gardener is all seeing as you say, then he must know that someone has passed through. You and he are already acquainted, so I think it's best that you lead the conversation. We're not that acquainted. We're not that acquainted. You still don't like me, I don't think. nature business. I've already had my time wasted once today. So someone was just here. That information is confidential. Please show me proper identification. You know me. Which is why I know you do not have the proper authorization to have that question answered. I suggest you vacate the premises now. I am occupied. You don't have a job. Occupied with what? I am watching the shrubs in the atrium grow. All I need is a description. Why are you being so difficult? Sounds boring. I guess I'll have to try someone else. All I need is a description. It appears this information is valuable to you. Perhaps I would amenable to a trade. What do you want? As you are aware, I am able to interface with any hub on my network. However, all currently active hubs are confined within the garden. To put it simply, I find myself affected by the doldrum nature of my continuous existence. So, what? You want people to you want to people watch? Can't you talk to the other Galdors? I don't get it. It's called boredom, bud. You want people to watch. Not necessarily. I simply wish to observe how the world has changed since the garden was active. I will provide you with a hub connected to the flow network. You will place this hub somewhere entertaining. Should I find myself entertained enough, I will give you the answers that you seek. I guess I don't have a choice. Seems fair. Let's do this. This is pretty urgent. Sure, I've got time probably. It's a pretty urgent. Then you should complete your task promptly. I would like to see how the land outside of the garden has changed. Place my hub somewhere high up with a view of the area. Ensure that the view of the aqueduct, if it still stands. Yeah. I heard your conversation with the gardener. It appears we must entertain his request. At least you must. I will remain here and look for any other evidence. Make haste. Every moment is longer than another. The intruder may use to escape. We got this. Whee! Okay, so we have to find a place that looks over the aqueduct. Hi, probably playing. Hmm. Come on in. Come on in. I see. Based on the map I have in my data, shores. This was once the heart of a bustling human city. Over there were the shipyards, and here the atrium and the adequate brought flow from the power plant wherever it was needed. Now, this area is quiet. Very well. The Silver Ring Labs are next. Ensure I can observe every island in the area. Making me go to Timbuktu. To Timbuktu. Next. Nerd. I'm cold. Very cold. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Oh no. Okay. I need to get up here so I can fly over there. I feel like that's the only way. The only way. Oops, I did it wrong. Alright. I feel like I can get up there and it will be better to make it all the way over there. I feel like if I go now, I won't make it all the way. silver ring population remains intact, though many have migrated in their intervening years, and the islands remain upright. We shall see how long human ingenuity can last when they finally fall. I have completed my survey of the area. Take me to the university now. I believe the constructor Enor refers to it as Kilima. Somewhere that I may observe these new purple entities your caretakers call Magiris. Kilima! We got this, fam. We got this. We can do this. We got 30 minutes to finish this quest. Do you think we can? Oh my goodness, the hiccup. Do you think we can do it? I was trying to say that, but I hiccuped. So I don't know if it came out all the way or not. You love this song? You're gonna miss this. We can do it! Woo! Now. I kind of want to put them all in here, but I think I should wait till the end of this quest because I might need them. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but as much as I want the money right now, I need to be good and not do it. But it's okay. Stay hydrated. Alright, we got this. Whee! Okay, where do they want this thing at? Allow me to observe. The tall one with the strange hair. Why do they keep excreting sadness liquid from their ocular eye ducts every 5 minutes? Oh, Gel, yeah, he does that. Making art can be overwhelming. Yeah, Gel needs therapy. Art, an illogical waste of limited time mortals have on this planet. Why does he not simply pick a less maddening profession? Many humans I observed during my time also displayed the same illogical behavior. The short fuzzy creature with the gold, is that a type of Majori or some type of evolved Kitsu? Haha, that's Zeki. He said that. That's Zeki, he's a Grimlikin. I'm not actually sure what Grimlikins are. I think he's technically an alien. Grimlikins. Ah, your constructor had information about them in his rune workings. An alien species that came to Palia 400 years ago on a crash-landed super yacht. They appear to have integrated well into modern society. So there are more intelligent species, some similar in appearance to the humans and ones less so, all functioning in harmony, unaware of the loss that they have constructed their towns on top of. You may bring the hub back to the garden now. I will provide the information you seek. I wish I had a horse or something I can ride. Or an Oramu. Can I ride an Oramu? Or trufflet, something? Get me a bicycle. Or a cool hoverboard. I don't know. Anything. That'd be pretty cool. Like a hoverboard, skateboard. Like like in Back to the Future. Oh, sorry. I hit the mic. That was my bad. Did that hurt your ears? I apologize. Oh, so I have an update with my tooth. I called earlier today and asked, in regards to getting in, and left a message with them. And then, at 5 o'clock, I figured I'd call because at 5:30 they called me yesterday and left a message. We've been playing phone call, right? So I went to call again at 5 to see, if I could get in, make an appointment for my root canal. And the the lady that answered said that the person left, that I'm only able to talk to one person. And they left 15 minutes before 5. So yeah, that's how it's going. Whee! I wish Mike Rob was actually in here, because then I would ask him if this is the laser show or the other thing's the laser show. He said something about lasers, and I was like, lasers? What are you talking about, lasers? I didn't see no lasers. I want to see lasers. So now we're waiting to go see the lasers. Yep. Yes, 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 we can do this. We can do this. We can do it. Okay. Meow. The world outside the garden has changed in many ways, and in others remain the same. Illogical actions, petty dramas, nonsensical architectural styles, and no new Galdor, where we now lack the ability to create more dwindling supply of guardians. However, I still remain, as do the secrets I safekeep. An intruder came into the garden just before you. Yes, they were heavily cloaked and bypassed all my security measures using flow. They used flow. Oh my goodness, an applin! Pokey catch! They thought that suspended the Cosmos Protocol, as I am the administrative console within the garden. They required my permission. Please tell me you didn't give it to them. I did not grant. Thank you. There are certain requirements that must be active to override the last lock on the protocol. They are not currently met. Who were they? What is the code? What happened next? Who were they? As I stated earlier, they were heavily cloaked, both with cloth and flow. When they spoke, their voice was distorted. I have been programmed to understand these factors imply their intentions are less than pure. What is the Cosmos Protocol? You do not have the correct authorization to obtain that information. What I can divulge is that it was set in place as a contingency plan should things go awry. What happened next? Well, the intruder attempted to use their authority to override my protocols, by which I mean they tried to break through my flow walls to disable the protocol themselves. They were forced to stop, I assume, when they sensed you and the other one approaching. By the time I recovered, you were standing before my main hub, and the intruder fled through the back doors. I appreciate the time you have brought me. As you placed the hub outside, I took the liberties of upgrading my flow walls to better protect against the vulnerabilities that were exposed. You may now vacate the premises. They were right under our noses and I missed it. It is a relief to hear the protocol remains intact, but that does little to ease the sting of failure. There is no trail to follow from here. They must have finally figured out how to cloak themselves for me. I do, however, have a few ideas on how to proceed. Give up and party? You mentioned suspects. Yes, I did, and I have some thoughts on who it might be. We know that they are not a resident of Kilima village or someone who spends any meaningful amount of time there. We also know that they are well versed in the use of flow and are capable of carving their own rune stones. And we also know that they are looking to keep a low profile and stay under the nose of the order. Either way, are an outside interloper who somehow discovered the existence of these temples, or it's Najuma, or it's Tamala, or it's aliens. Who do you think it was? Or it's Tamala. Correct. When I first arrived in Kilima, I made it a point to introduce myself to everyone at the welcome party. Tamala was in attendance. She seemed reluctant to divulge any personal information and spoke in circles about her profession. Because she's a witch. She's bad. And I knew she was bad from the start. As if it was she thought herself a pal cat and I the ship runt under her paw. It seems a little too obvious. Perhaps, but I have learned that criminals are often quite obvious about their activities. But if you have done more than enough work for me already, Pokey, it will be better if I take the next part of this alone, so as not to tip her or any other suspects off. You've proven yourself an invaluable partner. Should I have any updates, I will ensure that you are the first to know. Take care of yourself until then. Yes? I got an Ancient Explorer nameplate? How do I get it on me? I have to go to my, I got a nameplate. I want to use it. Wait, no, I don't want to go to the factory. $16 minutes. Yay, we did a part of it. Woo! But I still didn't see any lasers.
Hey,
Aha!
Yeah. Woohoo!
Whee! Next. Okay, let's go. Let's go back home to my abode and sell the diamonds so we can be rich. So we can get like maybe 2K. A few weeks later, somewhere in Kilima. What is this? Ooh. Who's that? What is happening? Is that the laser show? Wow. Hold on, Enor. This is important business to attend to. Yeah. Yes, we know.
Feel free to stay and converse.
Hello, Pokey. I'm here to visit you, but it is not on our customary exchange of pleasant sounding vibrations radiating from our face flaps. Did you perceive the large fluorescent beam shooting into the atmosphere from the darkness of the night sky yesterday? I thought someone set off fireworks. I was about to go ask someone. The giant pink space laser is not. I was about to go ask someone. Then it is excellent. I have arrived before you left to inquire. Immediately after they filled my optical receptors, I received a missive from the gardener. He informed me that I should inform of you of this information. The Cosmos Protocol lockdown has been forcibly deactivated. That's all he said? He also informed me to inform you that he has nothing else to say to you, and if you were to ask him, you would be wasting his time. I have already visited Subria. She reacted negatively to the information, though she was very polite to me. The Watcher has requested your presence within the Night Sky Temple. I shall return to my cave and continue comforting Gil 527. He dislikes bright flashing lights.
Back to my meditations.
I see. Ooh, milk. Dear Pokey, I want to take your skills to the next level. Meet me at midnight in the oldest part of the forest and I'll share my secrets. Or you could just meet me at the inn during standard working hours. You know, whatever works for you. It's just a stir fry recipe. I don't know if you've been over there yet, but the other day I placed a blueberry over by the old night sky temple, and you know what? It disappeared, like vanished out of thin air. I think there's something over there eating blueberries, and I don't think it's a choppa. No. Meet Subria in the Night Sky Temple and ask the gardener for more details. I'll just meet Subria in the Night Sky Temple. Dun, 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 dun. Hallelujah. Oh, oh. Hallelujah. I'm trying to stay up before movie time. We got 15 minutes, you guys. 15 minutes! Who's ready for movie time in Discord? There's tons of fish. Tons of fishy fishy. Tons of fishy fishy fishy. Time for all the fishies. I don't know what I'm doing, you guys.
Have a question every decision you've ever made? Huh? Just me, huh?
I managed to figure out that key problem is. We need the name of the owner's first pet to defuse it. I know it. Alright, I trust you, I think. Say it out loud now. One whiskered Shammy, one eared, one eyed Shermie. You did it! Thankfully. I'm going to keep the key just in case. Hopefully any future Florentine findings are less explosive. I'm not really a big fan of hanging out at the inn. I don't like loud places packed with lots of people. I feel
Want to
that.
come back soon?
I feel that, Gina. I understand. Yes. Is it the stir fry that he was talking about? I'm guessing it's the rice cake. Let's go this way, shall we? Yeah, I got an apple. Apple bottom jeans with the fur. Something about something. Do. Yay. We're getting somewhere, you guys. You're sure there's no one else here, Sir Roger? No eye lurking in the shadows? If there is, I will take care of them. That won't be necessary. I've scanned the entire area. As long as they are of this plane, they cannot hide from the order. Well, I suppose that's comforting, unless they're an extra-dimensional being. And Luisa lent me some articles about those. Ah, Pokey, we were waiting for your arrival. If you saw the sky last night, then you will be surprised why I have requested your presence. Still, allow me to ensure that we all are on the same page. Last night, a beam of flow erupted from somewhere in the vicinity of the Night Sky Temple. It appears that activated something across the island of Bahari. Reports are coming in from as far as Inurvian and Barahoof about the lights. One thing about the agents agree on is that Kilima was the first whatever happened started here. It's not the first time ancient human space lasers shown in the sky above Kilima. You didn't happen to solve any puzzles last night without telling us, right? Do crosswords count? I had nothing to do with this. Could it have been the intruder? Yes, I suspect so. According to the gardener, the final Cosmos lockdown was forcibly disabled 10 minutes before the eruption. If you direct your attention slightly to the right, you may become aware of a door that is previously locked and is no longer. Ah, yes, thank you, Helga. While I made a brief scan for intruders, I was waiting for you to investigate further. Gina, Helga, I can trust you to keep watch out here. Of course, Sir Watcher. Uh, you may rely on me. If you need anything to rest your eyes, Gina, please inform me and I shall watch twice as hard for the both of us. Alright, fine. I stayed up a little late last night because of all the excitement, but I don't need a nap, please. Pokey, let us investigate this new space. I will meet you inside. Why can't I just have this? um... Contribute. Now, we'll go to the first one and see if there's anything that we have that we can make that we can add. Striped Self Snell. I should have had that already. That's easy. Next. I want to know what happens once you put all the items in there, though. And this will leave it at next time. Who's excited? Who's excited about what's gonna happen next time? Probably tomorrow at some point. Yep. Oh my goodness. Seeing who we're gonna go raid. This is the raid message. I'd appreciate it if you stayed and we get to go say hello to someone real quick. I gotta get ready for movie night. Remember, guys, 10 p.m. It's literally in like 8 minutes. Let's see. Um, no one's really playing Palia. We got let's go say hi to Eagle Garrett. It's been a while since we said hi to him. So, he's playing Arc Raiders. He's cool. He's a cool dude. Hopefully it lets me read out. Okay. Let's see if it works. Hey, let's go. Okay, let's go ahead and go say hello to him. I appreciate you all being here, you guys. I love you all. I hope you all have a blessed night, and I will see you guys over there. Bye.